Councillor Matlow. Councillor Holyday.
Thanks, Chair. You put it out there, you put the money out there. I want to know how we can make money off of this. And I mean that in a nice way. You did bring up the issue of enforcement, and I'm quite intrigued by that. We know that some of the transformation that's going on with Toronto Police is shifting enforcement further and further to our bylaw officers. You know, noise has been in the news a lot lately. There's all sorts of human conflict in this city. And you've intrigued me. You showed some examples where it looks like tickets were issued based on inputs on by citizens, sorry. Could you tell me a little more about how that works and where you could see that going? And you know, I started with the money, and maybe the money's helpful to pay for the infrastructure, but what we're really talking about is citizens and their confidence in government. And, you know, how can this go to support that?
Well, I mean, first of all, releasing budget information in an open state so that it can be tracked year to year, that we can compare like to like, year to year, certainly one. That reported New York City example that we talked about, the citizens were able to generate $500,000 Canadian dollars in tickets. What is your time worth? I've heard most of you around this table today talk about going back and asking staff for the same 311 information over and over and over again. How much does it cost in your time, your staff's time, 311 staff's time? How much time gets wasted in planning, create TO and council meetings, having staff explain the chart on page 42 of some staff report rather than making that information available? When we did the HousingNowTO site, we designed it so that a grade 4 or 5 student could use it for their social studies homework without assistance. And I think that's where we need to be targeting the information consumption. The easier you make this information consumption, you're going to find savings from those efficiencies. The current processes you have are incredibly inefficient and burn a lot of money under the covers.
Could you go a little further, though, on the example that you provided in the presentation on how the citizens were supporting the ticketing of illegal behaviors?
Yeah, so it's on the screen here. It's an app. It's available on your Android or your Apple devices. You can go in, and there are certain types of violations within the laws, the bylaws, that can be enforced based on citizen-delivered evidence.
So bylaw changes or structural changes by the city?
Structural changes, or maybe there's just, so there are things like blocking a crosswalk, blocking a bike lane, certain kinds of violation. I think you actually have one in the city now for reporting graffiti violations.
Yeah,
the City of Toronto has one.
click fix. I mean, there's all sorts of things out there.
So in this particular case, there's a series of violations. They didn't rewrite their 311 page. This is an outside developer who created the application that submits your ticket to 311 using all their formatting, because the government site wasn't very easy to manage. So what they did instead was they created this application which lets any average New Yorker submit one of these sample problems within 30 seconds by filling in a quick form.
So outside service provider packages the information, goes over to the city?
Outside service provider, but it's a volunteer civic tech person. It is not a vendor.
Oh, okay.
To your mind.
And so this data package comes over to the city. It's got a picture. It's got some GPS data, some information
into
about
your
it.
311 system.
City writes a ticket, sends it to the vehicle owner, I guess, by plate or whatever it is.
Yep.
And I presume that probably saved a whole lot of staff time, and people were happy because tickets were getting written.
And the citizens feel empowered. The citizens feel that
that's the piece.
They're getting somewhere. That when I'm walking through the crosswalk and there's an armored car in front of me, Brinks is going to get in trouble. And that's part of it. Part of the distrust that we have is we call 311 and we get told it's going to be 3 weeks for us to get back to you.
Or they're inundated, and this maybe is a way to help. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Holyday. Other questions of the deputant? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. Really appreciate you coming in this morning.